Good evening. My name is Jack Dearborn. I'm Chairman of the Weare Zoning Board of Adjustment. This is the May 01, 2018 meeting. At 7:30 we're starting. We have this evening two cases to be heard, one being a special exception, 0218, Article 10-119. Oh, come on, Malcolm. And the second is the 0318 case, variance 1711, building on a Class 6 private road. Okay, with that said, the way we run the meeting, I run the meeting, is that for every case, I will ask that 5 members be appointed to hear that particular case. And I'll do that as soon as we get to the first case. The way we do it is, before we hear the case, I will ask the board if they see that the application is properly filled out. The last thing we want to do is hear a case that's not properly filled out. So we take a vote if we will accept it for hearing. Should we go halfway through the meeting and we discover something we missed, we will halt the meeting and ask the applicant to bring it in, continue the meeting as appropriate. Once we do approve the application for the hearing, what I'll do is I'll see the board, members of the board, and it's expected they will be unencumbered, meaning they'd be able to reach a yes or a no vote and have no conflicts of interest. Then I'll ask, then I'll read the application at the top level, and then I'll ask the applicant to stand up, and I'll ask the board if they have any questions of the applicant in terms of that would be important to know before he starts doing the presentation. Once we agree that he can start, we'll let him start and go through. And it's important that if you're doing a variance or any application, that you actually read a question and read the answer. And the reason is because we happen to have a copy here. Nobody in the room has a copy, especially abutters who wish to be part of the discussion later, nor people at home. So we always ask people to read the question that's asked to be answered and the answer. That said, I will then close the public hearing, and I'll ask approving abutters that wish to speak to come up, state your name, and speak on behalf or against or whatever. And I've asked for disapproving abutters to come forward, public at large or the boards. Once that's done, everybody in the room had an opportunity to speak. I'd ask the applicant to come back up again and rebut anything that may have required a rebuttal on their part of anything that was said. After that, I'll go right around again, approving abutters, disapproving abutters, public at large or the boards. Once we've done that twice, I will then shut down the public part of the meeting. And basically from that point on, it's up to the board to deliberate. And for variances, there are 5 questions. You need to get 3 yeses on all 5 questions. If you have 5 people up here, you can afford to get 2 no's. If there's 4 people up here, if you have a variance and you wish to continue it till we have the 5th member. Tonight is not a problem. Some nights we don't fill up the board, and you can have the opportunity to have 5 people. That allows you to give 2 no's and still carry it. Not all the same people have to vote yes for every question consistently. As long as there's 3 yeses for each of the 5 questions, that's what it is. Once that's done, you get your variance or your case is approved. At that point, you would get a hold of Chip next morning, and you should be able to get minutes within 144 hours per the RSA. So that being said, first action here this evening is case number 0218, and I will ask Donnie, why don't you come up? And I'll ask the members to introduce themselves.
Mark Moretti, member. Don Rogers, alternate.
Michael Meyer, member.
Malcolm Wright, member.
Thank you. These are the 5 members for the case of 0218. Okay, at this point, review of the package. There is a front page with a compliance checklist. There is a memo discussing, we wish to read this, whoever the applicant is. There is a Tiffany Waite, 45 Renshaw Road, Weare, New Hampshire, 03281. Owner's address being the same, property address, location 45 Renshaw, tax map and lot 411108, commercial zone. And property description, property consists of 2 acres shown on lot 1 on the subdivision 22094. Copies of subdivision plan and large copies of just lot 1, lot 1 dash attached. Proposed or affected use, single family home with accessory dwelling unit, aka in-law. Okay, why does this proposal require an appeal to the Zoning Board of Adjustment? Article 19 allows for a special exception for accessory dwellings unit, provided it meets all the requirements as this does. Okay, there are a page with 7 questions and 7 answers signed by the applicant. List of abutters. There is a sketch showing Renshaw Drive, main house, looks like a breezeway or attachment, and a house. Okay, hand drawn, I might add. And there's a property card. There is a copy of the tax map with the lot 108 annotated in highlighted green or yellow. There is a enlarged section of plan 2209-lot 1 subject lot. There is what looks like a subdivision plan, and that is recorded subdivision plan 1988 plan 22094. With that said, the board has been seated. At this point, I would ask if anybody would move to accept the motion, accept the case 0218.
Move to accept case 0218.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Anybody have any issues with this? Being done? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Being done, 5-0. Okay, we're now gonna hear the case. Whoever would like to speak on behalf of the application? Hopefully somebody's here.
For this application?
Somebody who wishes to speak on behalf of,
Oh, I signed it.
okay,
Sorry. Do
Would
I
you
get
like-
up?
yes, we gotta make you get up.
All right.
And you need to state your name, please.
My name's Tiffany Waite.
Okay. Before we have you go through, when Town of Weare did the zoning ordinances, they had certain things that is allowed, but pretty complex to write a very tight, simple specification of an article. So what they did was, they say, the zoning board can approve providing it meets these conditions. So you as an applicant get it by right if you meet these conditions.
Absolutely.
And it's just a question of us validating that, at which time, should we pass yes on it, you get approved, I should say. Then Chip can give you a, whatever building permit you need, whatever actions required. Okay. Any questions of the applicant before we start? Okay. Do you have a copy of this?
I do.
Would you please read the question and read your answer?
Which question? All of them?
Well, start with one.
Okay. So the first one is the specific site is an appropriate location for such use or uses in terms of overall community development. My answer was the space was existed within the home, and it meets all the requirements for an accessory unit. The property was purchased with the unit, and we are here to get it properly permitted so we can use it as an accessory dwelling.
So it's safe to say somebody,
We were under the assumption that it was
Right.
taken care of when we
Somebody
bought
before
it.
you.
2 days before closing, we found out it wasn't, and then they didn't have time.
okay, good. It wasn't done on your shift.
No.
Thank you. Okay, question 2.
The proposed use will not adversely affect the neighborhood and shall produce no significant reduction of real estate values in their neighborhood. There's no new construction necessary because it was already there, and it's established already, connected to the main home.
Okay,
I see it just adding value because accessory dwellings are pretty common now.
number 3, please.
The proposed use will not be a nuisance or serious hazard to vehicle traffic or pedestrians. There's off-street parking, probably enough for 5 cars, and the traffic is consistent with all the other homes in the neighborhood, as well as what the former owner had already had.
Number 4, please.
The proposed use will not cause an undue burden on the town through the provision of basic town services. The proposed accessory unit is a 1-bedroom, which will be occupied by an adult family member.
Number 5, please.
Adequate off-street parking will be provided if determined necessary. It already has adequate off-street parking, and no new parking is required.
Okay, next, please. 6.
A buffer may be required to screen neighboring uses from proposed use. Buffers may be fence, screens, dense plating of suitable trees and shrubbery. There's no changes that are necessary for the property. It's already pre-constructed. It's not a new construction.
Okay, number 7, please.
The zoning board of adjustment in granting any special exception may include such restrictions or conditions to ensure compliance with this section. We'd be willing to comply with anything necessary to make it permitted.
Okay, thank you. Mike, could you read down these requirements, scan down and verify individually, like the accessory dwelling? It goes through the conditions it must meet.
I was just looking at that. I didn't see any reason.
Is it under 750 feet?
Yes.
That's number 1.
I'm trying to think where's 710.
This is the next one.
It's attached.
Yep.
Yep. One interior connecting door, which we saw on the plan. Septic system design capacity shall be approved for the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. That's the only thing I was looking for in the application, the current septic system.
It's 1,500, I think.
It's rated for how many
I
bedrooms?
think 4 or 5 bedrooms.
Before.
It's 4,
I think-
and she is legal.
Okay.
There's history to this.
Okay. No new entrances or exits to the accessory dwelling shall be constructed facing the front of a single-family dwelling. You said it was on the side of the building?
There's a side entrance, and the front entrance is the kitchen. So there's nothing new that needs to be constructed.
Nothing new. And 2 parking spaces shall be provided for the accessory dwelling. No new curb cut. You said there were 5 parking spaces off. at
And
least.
the detached garage as well, so there's plenty of
Very
parking.
good. Exterior construction materials shall be uniform with a single-family dwelling. You're not making any changes outside. Either the accessory dwelling unit or the principal dwelling unit will be the principal residence of the legal domicile of the owner of the property if you're planning on staying.
Yeah, we're staying.
Yes, it meets all the requirements.
Thank you. With that, I accept the motion. We always make motions in the positive, because it's simple. Yes means yes, no means no. It gets tough when you have convoluted motions that are double negative. With that said, motion to, we make a motion to accept?
To accept,
Case 02.
0218, Yeah.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Being none, 500. You've got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next one we have here is case number 0318. Anybody here for that case? Okay, good, okay. All right. Robin Hool? Okay. Okay, let me Don, why don't you have a seat, please?
Okay.
And I'll let you right here.
And Jack, she has brought the owner.
She has?
Yeah.
She's all set?
Yep.
Okay. That was the first question I was gonna ask.
Beat you to it.
Okay. So, do you have a new copy of this one, part of the package?
No, the owner's right there, and I'm sure that he is going to
Oh.
give his verbal permission
Okay,
as
good.
we speak.
That's fine. I thought there was a piece of paper coming.
We do
No.
have the paper as well.
No, you don't need it if you're here. You say it's fine. Good. All right. Okay, this is case number 0318. Well, before we start, Gary Shelto is a member, alternate, and he's going to be seated as members for this, 5 members for this. Now, this is a variance. I talked about there are 5 points of hardship that must be met. When I say must be met, each one of the 5 points, or the 5 prongs, if you will, require to have 3 yes votes each. Doesn't have to be the same people, but it needs to have at least 3. Okay. Robin Hool, Walter Gates, 47 Pond View Road, Weare, New Hampshire, 03281. Owner Frank Sykes, 152 Governor Wentworth Highway. Where is that in?
Wolfboro.
Okay. New Hampshire. Property address, location, off Route 77, next to Blackbirds, I guess it would be. And the tax map and lot is 201-01, lot 1. And the frontage is 201.2 feet, the side is 284.7, rear is 352.8, and the side is 260, the other side is 264.29. Proposed use or existing use affected, build on a private road. Oh, the land is on a private road. Thank you. Okay. The 5 points of hardship have been filled out. Well, actually been directed to a typed copy. There's a butters list. There's a quick claim deed. Very good. Okay. Motion to accept the application, please.
Move to accept 0318.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. any discussion on the package? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Okay. Now, before we get going too fast, I'd like to make sure that we got a drawing that everybody can see up here. That one there, Chip?
There are two of them on the table.
I took one.
Oh, you made this one piece, huh?
I made it one piece.
That's good. Okay. Is anybody here that's interested in this case tonight, other than the applicants? Do you know where it is? Because if you don't, why don't you come down and look at the map so you know what we're talking about?
They're the greens.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else care to come down and find out where it is so we don't have to back up the meeting and so if somebody says, I don't know where it is? Okay. I'm gonna take that as a yes.
Yeah, I would.
Come on down. You weren't too late though.
Does it show another road?
This is what, 77. This is Blackbird's down
Okay.
here. This is, I call it Siciliano's place. It's across from the old post office.
Okay,
This is the lane that goes up through here like this.
okay,
This is the first green lot,
okay.
and this proceeds here.
So that's the conservation easement with the granted right away, right through there.
Exactly,
Okay,
except for
gotcha.
that little piece right there.
Okay,
That tiny little piece is not.
Square.
okay, so it's not a class 6 road,
Correct.
okay.
And just a distinction, a class 5 road is a road that's owned by the town and maintained by the town. A class 6 road is owned by the town and is no longer maintained by the town. That requires a variance, as well as permission from the Board of Selectmen to use it. A private road is anything other than that. In this case, there is no on-record road. Now, under the 9/11 issue, money was raised by Congress, and they determined that every housing site needs to be on a identified road and with a lot identified. This access for the Greens property does not have any road identification. Why is that a problem? Not everybody who is on the fire department or on the police department that responds to emergencies knows the town of Weare, that they live there all the time.
Point of order?
Yeah.
Who put the gate at the end of the road?
Pardon?
The green gate at the end of the road, is that a town gate?
There is no gate.
Yeah, there's a gate
Yeah,
there.
there is.
Is it buried?
No, we were out there.
Oh, wait a minute. Not the 77, but the two gates out
Yeah,
with
the
it.
conservation
Yeah,
area.
yeah. Is
That's
that a
the
town-owned gate?
conservation. Okay.
Yes.
Conservation.
Yeah, okay.
There's two gates. So, that being said, there are some issues that we'd have to address if we approve it. Meaning, there would have to be some compliance with, even though Mr. Green may not be compliant, but we will make sure that any other action there, if we do pass it, will be compliant. Okay. So it is a private road. The 1711 basically says no building on a class 6 or private road. That's why we're here tonight. Now, we as a zoning board can put conditions on if we approve this. And typically, what we do put on conditions is there is a disclaimer statement put in the registry of deeds under this property that says this is on a non-town maintained road. So nobody has any qualms about buying it in the future. Okay? The second thing is, there should be, but there isn't, a yellow sign, something like this, with specific language put on there that says you are leaving a class 5 road. Why is that the case? Should somebody come to visit you, some salesman drives up the road, doesn't know the status of the road, gets hurt, they can come back on the town of Ware. So this is for the casual person, your aunt, your uncle, your nephew, whoever drives up there. They can't say they didn't know. So that's two. The third thing is, we apply a minimum standard for the road. In this case, access. There isn't really a road there. There is a current driveway. So we require a minimum standard. Why? Life and safety requirements in the town of Ware. The zoning board, the planning board has since come up with a standard for driveways. And this is basically under a national requirement for life and safety. The Board of Fire Wards kind of get delegated by the planning board to go and make sure that all driveways are compliant. They pass it down to the fire chief, who goes off and actually does the work and evaluates it. This is the guarantee that there's a gravel grade surface of minimum of 12 feet wide, and if it's over a certain length, I think it's 200 or 300 feet, there needs to be a means by which two vehicles can pass by each other. That's so in case water is being shuttled or somebody's hurt and they gotta be brought out. And it can't exceed, which isn't a problem today, 10% grade, and it can't have more than or less than I think it's a 100-foot diameter, 100-foot radius turn. This is basically a straight shot in. It looks as if that road has been improved for the logging operation. I don't know when it was done. Probably done 4, 5, 6 years ago, something like that. So that's sort of the history on a Class 5 road. Oh, thank you.
Driveway regs and driveway regulations out of the subdivision.
Thank you. So, with that given as reasonable expectation, as well as the 9/11 criteria of posting it, having a town-approved street sign, and having whatever is required to indicate who's out back there, because it's not a road. I'm not an expert at that, so whatever is required. So, with that being said, why don't we ask the applicant to come forwards? Who would like to speak to this?
I was just here, I'm a friend of theirs.
Well,
I just-
it's a little more than being a friend.
All right, well,
You want to read the question?
sure.
And you want to read the
Yeah,
answer?
yeah.
You want to field any questions we got?
No, I just,
Well, we
I,
need to have somebody who's going
Yeah.
to present this application
okay,
for the applicant.
yeah, I can do that.
Okay, so you're gonna have to be able to answer any questions.
Well, I guess my question is, why is this even a variance? If it was given to the town of Ware in '86 as a conservation easement under stewardship,
Hold it. Why don't you have a seat?
okay,
Let's get somebody up here who wants to speak to this application. I'm not being a wise guy. I'm not here to defend the town of Ware.
no, I just
We have a zoning in '87,
yeah,
adopted in '88.
that's a lot of record.
Yes, but 674-41 of the RSA of the state of New
Got it
Hampshire
right here.
says you cannot build on a class 6 or a private road.
Doesn't say
Period.
private, it says class 6
17
road. I have it right here. It doesn't say private road.
Well, if you go on to the second piece, it will.
I have it right here in the
Let's
New
put it
Hampshire.
this way, we're not dealing with that tonight. You can have the pleasure of dealing with the select board on that.
No, I'm just saying that you guys are calling it
17-1.
it's not a class 5 or 6 road. They can, it's.
You're trying my patience. I'm gonna ask you to leave. I'm telling you. We're here because 17-1-1, and I mentioned this earlier. No building permit, which you're seeking, for new homes, which you're asking for, shall be issued on any class 6 or private road. What's so hard to hear about that?
Yeah,
Can I answer?
As the owner of the property?
Can I answer that? You're asking me a
Sorry.
question. Can I answer that?
Stop!
Sorry, I'm just.
Who is going to present this evening? Please, somebody. And the only time you ask a question is when you get up there at the right time. I want the applicant up here. You as abutters, co-owners can be when I call approving abutters.
Thank you.
Okay? And the reason I'm being kind of anal about this is because this is a court. What I mean by that is, this isn't up for discussion. We have procedures and policies we follow. If we don't hit all the marks, the case can be tossed out, whether you like it or not. Somebody can say, my due process is violated. We're not gonna get there. So, accepted the application. I have somebody up to speak. And your name, please?
Robin Hole.
Thank you, Brian. Would you, what we'd like you to do this evening is read the question. You have a copy?
The one that I printed out.
Yes.
Okay.
Read the question and your answer.
So it has to do with these ones instead of the special exception?
No, you're filing for a variance. The special exception, I didn't even hand out to anybody. You don't need a special exception for
Okay, because that's
anything.
what I had the first time.
Do you have this?
Yep, I do.
Okay.
I have it out. Okay. Number 1, the undersigned hereby request a variance to the terms of Article 17, Section 1.1, and ask that said terms be waived to permit a house be built on a private road. You are required by law to demonstrate that the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the public interest because the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the public interest because our house would be constructed within all Weare building codes and we will step back from the road on the lot.
Thank you.
2, the variance requested will not be contrary to the spirit of the ordinance because the spirit of the ordinance is to allow for the building of residential houses within the residential zone. This is what we are proposing to do. 3, that through the granting of relief by variance, substantial justice will be done because the lot was intended to be built upon. This is a residential area and there is already one existing home on the private road. Substantial justice will be done because granting the variance far outweigh the justice done by not granting the variance. 4, that by granting the variance, the values of surrounding properties will not be diminished because the building of a new single-family home on a vacant lot could increase the values of the surrounding properties by providing a new subject property against which to measure comparable sales. Potential alternative uses of a vacant lot could have significant negative impact on the surrounding properties, which a new single-family home would not. 5, to qualify for a variance, you must demonstrate that denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship. Pursuant to applicable law, the test for unnecessary hardship is set forth in 2 alternative parts, parts A and B as follows. A, unnecessary hardship means that owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. 1, no fair and substantial relationships exist between the general public purposes of the ordinance provision and the specific application of the property. And 2, the proposed use is a reasonable one. Accordingly, while having the foregoing standards in Part A in mind, please provide the following facts relative to your application. A, please describe the special conditions of your property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. The main special condition of this property that distinguishes it from other properties in the area is it is on a private road. Please indicate how owning to the special condition identified above. 1, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property. The purpose of the ordinance provision appears to be ensure that the safety and welfare of persons living in less accessible lots, i.e. through proper and safe accessibility of emergency and municipal services. Be it known that the subject property itself will be wide open with plenty of room for a large vehicle turnaround. The road conditions, as it has been demonstrated to be reliable, solid, and not subject to unusual wear. And the applicant is willing to be share responsibility with other abutters for maintenance of said road. Therefore, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the provisions and the specific application to the subject property. 2, and how the proposed use is a reasonable one. The applicant seeks to use this property upon which is built a single-family home. This is reasonable and consistent with other use of other lots in the general vicinity and all along Route 77. Therefore, the proposed use is a reasonable one. B, if the criteria in subparagraph A are not established, an unnecessary hardship will be deemed to exist if, only if, owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, the property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance, and a variance is therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use of it. Accordingly, while having the foregoing standards in Part B in mind, please provide the following facts relative to your application. B, please describe the special conditions of your property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. The subject property conforms with all requirements needed for construction of a single-family residence, except for it's on a private road. On this private road, there is one existing home. Please indicate how owning to the special conditions identified above, your property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance, and a variance is therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use of it. Due to the special conditions indicated above, the lot is on a private road. This property would be unable to be reasonably used for what it's intended in ordinary purpose.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
You can take a breath.
Thank you.
Good job.
Does the board have any questions of Robin before I ask him to sit down?
Just one question, I guess. I always like to clarify, what exactly is the hardship that you're claiming?
Hold on, let me go back.
That's on a private road, is that the hardship?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the lot was supposed to be built upon, and we can't get anywhere with the building permit until we get proof that we get permission to build on the private road.
right, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Robin, you can have a seat, please.
Actually,
Oh,
just
sorry.
a couple more questions. You mentioned a couple times that there's another home
Yep.
on that private road. Which lot is that on?
It's the one right before
It's on
it.
two,
It's
okay.
like a log cabin.
Thank you.
Seat, Robin. Okay, any approving abutters wish to speak? And that key term is an abutter.
I got the abutters notice, does that prove me it's a...
Well, you may not pass the test if we put it to you, but we'll accept you. Come on up.
Well, I appreciate it, I'm not trying to be difficult by any
No.
stretch of the imagination. I'm just a property owner, and I'd
Your
like to
name,
see
sir?
Robin and, Frank Sykes. Thank you, 152 Governor Wentworth Highway 03894. I'd like to see Robin and Walter into this property. I'd love to see that happen. They've been working hard at it now for a year, getting all the information together. It was a gift to me from my father as a approved building lot back in '86, registered with the county, the deed, the survey, and the subdivision plans. Just seems to me that this would be nice if we could make that happen. I've said my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other approving abutters wish to speak? Being none, any disapproving abutters wish to speak? Come on down, ma'am.
Hello, Gina Green. We do live in the log home that was grandfathered in, I believe, when the home was built about 1989. We've been there since 1998. It's not grandfathered?
Well, if it is grandfather, it was done before '88.
Okay.
And if
I'm
it
just
isn't-
saying when the house was
If it has got a
built.
variance, it was done after
Okay,
'88.
all right. So we moved in there in 98. Been there probably 20 years now, maintaining that road. We grade it every couple of years. Plow it, there's divots, the road really doesn't hold up well. I think the town helped us grade it last year when they were doing all that logging, and we had just graded it, so it ruined everything we needed to do. My concern is the widening of the road. Someone had it surveyed, there was all little orange flags.
Well,
I don't know
wait,
when-
hold it there.
yeah.
Do you think somebody actually has a survey of the road, or did they flag it to cut for access, meaning the big trucks go through?
Surveying
It's
the
been-
road or the easement?
I don't
The
know.
road that leads to the house.
Yeah, but I see the flaggings. But
Yeah, what
there's
is that?
Also, I don't know, but it's also been cut back so that the larger trucks can get through for the logging.
Okay.
I don't know if they're the same time.
I don't know, it was just a coincidence. that I thought. So it's, if the road was to be widened, my concern is it would go into our property line.
Well,
Probably is not gonna happen.
So the road does not need to be widened for them to
I
build a
shouldn't
house?
say that.
Okay,
Based on my non-professional opinion, when I walked out there, it looks like it would support a 12-foot wide condition. Meaning, there may need to have a area maybe of 50 feet long, maybe out to like 20 feet wide, so that two large fire trucks can pass by each other, because it's a very long driveway, even to get to your house.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So, we're gonna put a requirement as a minimum to meet the town of Weare driveway permit here.
The applicable part will be the last one that says they have to go to the Board of Fireworks.
Oh, here we go. Safe site, no, that's not it. Well, anyways, one does exist, and it looks like the fire chief is gonna decide if it needs to be widened slightly. If he's satisfied with the gravel grade that's there. You don't have a problem with a hill that is flat. You don't have a problem with a radius on the turn because it's all. So, we're not the experts on implementing that. We're not even the person that comes up with requirements. That's the planning board and the Board of Fireworks.
all right.
This is a life safety issue.
Yeah,
So they're gonna, the chief's empowered under the Board of Fireworks, the fire chief, to recommend what's required per this, only within this spec. So he's the guy who's on the ground, so to speak, validating that. He'll make recommendations.
all right. Now, who would pay for that if there was anything
The
needed to be done to the road?
applicant.
Okay,
If the two members on the road wish to share it, we don't care. But the burden of getting the private road variance is on the applicant. So, but then again, you'd want somebody to show up on your property someday if you need it. So that's why we put these requirements. So egress, meaning exit and entrance, is not an issue. I have no idea if the state's gonna get involved where it meets 77. Normally, that's the town road.
Yeah.
In this case, it's a state road.
yeah,
I don't know if they would consider something, we don't know that, but they'll have to make sure, because I'm sure the fire chief will make sure of that.
okay. And so the road frontage issue,
When you say road frontage,
there is no road frontage?
well,
the-
there's a
the lot.
driveway.
Yeah,
And the width of the existing driveway looks like it, don't hold me to it, I don't know if it's 11 inches or 12-foot one, it looks like it would support 12 feet, the gravel.
okay.
It may actually go beyond what the travel is. So, again, the question is, we put the requirement on it, in order to get the building permit, they have to meet that requirement.
Okay. Well, the concern is the access to our, not the road, the driveway to our home,
Wow.
where you pull in.
It actually goes past your driveway.
It does go past it, so if
And
it's
then it
gonna be
turns-
widened, does it affect my property, is the question.
Wow.
To widen the road, you need to come over into my property, correct? Or not
It'd be a
correct?
civil issue.
Just a point of order, there's a
Encroachment on
50-foot
your
wide
property.
right-of-way there,
If I-
from 77 on.
Hold it. We can't be talking
Oh, sorry.
from, I just wanna make sure. The reason is, he's gotta make the minutes, and it's gotta look sane on YouTube. Okay? That's why we hold this meeting in a very rigorous manner, because this will be looked at by people that don't like it, maybe in the future, so. That's why I try to be very specific on this. So, we've exhausted any answers to your questions. We will put a requirement down, it'll be paid for by the applicant if they wish to continue with this for a building permit.
Okay,
And they will not be allowed to get a building permit until they've done the proper site work, per the fire department.
okay, so we don't know even if they're approved, we don't know if it's gonna go into our property. And then we'll just have to deal with that when that happens, or what happens?
I personally been there with Chip and myself. I didn't see that as being a threat, but I'm not certifying it.
Okay, yeah,
It looks like it's okay, but Don't
Can I
talk to
just
me.
clarify something? I wanna make sure what your concern is. It sounds to me like your concern is about encroachment.
Yeah,
Okay, I kinda just wanna hear that.
yeah, if the road is gonna be widened, there's
concerned
only so
about
many
encroachment on your
areas on
property.
each side.
Okay.
But I think I figured out what her concern is. They can't come on your property line.
That's,
Yeah,
So as long as they come up to the property line, it's not your land.
no, I know that.
So they can't go on your land, if that's what
Okay.
you're saying.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But that's, yeah, that's,
That's why I.
And then you've
jumped in. I
exhausted
finally
my
figured out what the
questions.
concern is. Thank you.
okay, yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I
Come on
have
down.
Thomas Green. I'm at the same property, 137 Concord Stage Road.
You're gonna have to do it again.
You have to do it.
Thomas Green,
Thank you.
137 Concord Stage Road. Also, the encroachment on the property, and you had mentioned 12 foot. I mean, that's all fine and dandy, like now, spring, summer, but come winter, those snowbanks get like 4 foot high, going up and down. So, I mean, it's all great, you know, they want to live there, that's fine, and I'm all for it. It's just, you know, going in and out of the property, running into other cars and whatnot, is my concern. Is the driveway mainly.
Again, we're gonna make sure there's proper access for life and safety.
Okay,
Anything else is a civil matter between you and the other owner.
yep, okay. And like you said, like 50 feet, that's
Wow.
fine.
We'll get to
Yeah,
that in a minute.
you're right, I mean, that's just the right way. That's
Yeah.
all. I'm just
We'll
saying,
get to
just
that in a minute.
Clarify,
Okay.
that's all.
All right,
I don't care.
thank you.
I'm not trying to
Thank
make
you.
it difficult.
Anybody else wish to speak as an abutter? Public at large? Other boards? Being none, would you like to come back up and rebut anything that somebody might have said?
I don't think so.
Any approving abutters, disapproving abutters, public at large, other boards wish to say anything? At this point, I just wanna clarify something, and I'll ask before I shut down. Chip, best of your
Yes.
recollection, is there a 50-foot right-of-way?
I do not know.
We didn't see
I
it.
would have to look, someone would have to provide the language on the easement. There's
So-
nothing on the map.
We have a survey, that helps.
If you got a survey, we'll take it. And if you need it back, we'll get copies.
Yeah, we needed that.
That's helpful.
Does, in the deed, there is mention of 50.
Yeah, but there's nothing where it doesn't say where it is.
Right.
We're assuming it's where the road is, how the driveway.
Yes.
Ah, it doesn't help that here, you know what I'm saying? Oh, whose lot's this? This is the lot?
yes.
Yeah.
That's the lot you're talking
So Greens is here.
You guys wanna look at it?
At the time, in '86, this was somebody named Mann.
So it shows it's a private road.
Only up, it's literally beyond Greens. Because this goes way over here to 77.
Yeah.
See, all you see is that little piece of the road here. This whole piece of road is still, yeah, it says 50 foot. I think we're gonna have to require you, because if there was an existing prima facie road there, it'd be easy to say, there's a road.
Right.
People have a buttering off either side, and they have boundaries. There's nothing about that here.
Okay.
So, one of the conditions we may put on to have this access identified on a plat from 77 to wherever you need to access this property, I would suggest to the back here. In other words, extend this down, and then the town of Weare is now the owner in the form of a conservation easement. So this gets a little more complicated than normal. So let us just take, that's the business of the select board and the conservation, if they have any business in it. So,
Do you want to make a copy of that, or we can always pick it up?
could you make a copy of this
Yes.
tomorrow? Thank you, Sharon. Anybody else need to see it? Okay. Before we do the votes, let me get the conditions down. Town of Weare. Class 5 private road sign ordinance posting requirement, correct?
Yes.
Second one is life safety issues with regards to the town of Weare driveway specification. And I think it's part of the subdivision regulations? Chip?
Yes.
Okay. Town of Weare subdivision regulations.
And
driveway.
the application for the driveway permit, that's the thing that's on top. That actually tells you the specifics of what you have to do, which is the last one says you gotta go to the Board of Fire Wards, and they review everything under NFPA 1, which is where you come with
But this is a driveway
width for the
permit
two
specification.
yeah,
Driveway permit specification.
yeah, and the permit is only issued when they meet the requirements.
Okay, the town of Weare liability disclaimer
Hold harmless.
filed at the Hampshire, right, Hillsborough County. Consideration any requirements for 9/11 posting. I don't know who that is, but we wanna make sure that's done.
That's windy.
Okay. And the last one is, we wanna have that right away from 77 to the back of Sykes property. Right away identified. And you, even if we give you this, it only gets you halfway there.
Right.
The second half is going to the select board, so they can do this, RSA 674-41 approval.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody understand what the conditions are?
Yeah, what was the comment about the conservation stuff?
Well, there is a conservation easement. In other words, somebody, I forget the name, who was the person?
Frank Ferrante.
Ferrante, basically gave the town a conservation easement on the property, which means you can't build on it forever, perpetuity. The town of Weare actually owns the land and is encumbered by a, if I understand correctly, it's encumbered by a conservation easement, so it can only stay as the status. It could be logged, good practice and stuff like that. So, I don't know how that gets involved, because this is the first time I ever had a conservation easement involved with town owned land that isn't a road of record, so. But,
Which also came after the fact. Because the easement was originally written, and then Frank Ferrante donated the land, so the driveway, and
Right.
the driveway was there prior to the conservation easement.
okay, I think we ready for the vote? Prong 1? Positive?
Yeah,
Move.
move to, accept,
Prong-
number one,
prong
prong
one.
one.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Being none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, 4-1. And 2?
Move to, accept number two.
Second. Discussion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
4-1. Next one, please.
Number three, move to, accept prong three.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
4-1. 4, please.
Move to accept, prong four.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
4-1. Question 5 in its entirety.
Move to accept, question five in its entirety, prong five.
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Thank you. 4-1. You got it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And in order to get your building permit, you'd have to comply with our request. for our conditions, I should say. Thank you. Next business. We gotta do the minutes.
Yeah, you could do minutes.
Is there anything else before we get to our last thing?
No.
Nope.
You better hurry up.
Working on it.
Thank you.
Okay. Where's my minutes?
They came in email, but I didn't get a paper copy. Do you want them?
Can't find my minutes.
No, minutes came by email.
You got
Oh,
two.
I got some.
Which one?
Get ones from the meeting before.
Okay.
Hang on.
Do you have a copy?
I didn't get a paper copy.
Yeah. I have one paper copy. Actually, I have two.
Was that the minutes that was sent email? Oh,
Should be
you
November
printed
and
them out.
April, right? Thank you.
That's why you give it. I remember reading them.
How many thought?
There's two.
I looked at the email, I'm okay with it.
Wow, this is back in November. We had that special exception. You guys want to read this?
Two-sided.
Actually, I didn't hear it. There's no S on it. Under administrative items.
No. I don't see it.
Mike, is that April 3rd?
Yes,
And she put an S on your name?
under the election of officers.
Oh,
That wasn't.
'Cause you weren't
present.
there.
I wasn't present.
Everybody says it. Are we, need a little more time?
I'm good.
Malcolm?
Fine.
Need a little more time?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, thank you. Okay, motion to accept November 7th, is it?
April.
No, those are minutes.
Gotcha. Wrong one.
The 7th? Wait a minute here. I just read the November one. Did I miss something?
Yeah, I was looking
No,
at the.
7th. I was looking at April
Yeah,
3rd.
November 7th and the 3rd.
November 7th. This is what I just read, right?
November 7th, we've already approved,
Okay.
last month.
Okay. Let's do that again.
So move to accept the April 3rd.
No, I haven't read them.
Oh, okay.
I was reading November 7th. think we're ready.
Yep.
For April 3rd. Motion?
Move to accept, April 3rd, minutes.
Second.
Thank you. All those, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? 5-0. Thank you. Now we're going into, let me get my piece of paper out.
You got those numbers?
I got them here somewhere. Okay. Okay, at this time, I request a motion to have the board go into non-public session for the purposes of, and this is under RSA, you may want to write this down, RSA 91 hyphen 3, excuse me, hyphen A, colon 3, Roman numeral 2, parentheses L, close parentheses L. Just parentheses L, that's it.
Put some Greek symbols in there.
This is to go into to a non-public for the purpose of receiving legal advice from the
Okay.
town attorney.
Okay, thank you.
So, we cannot make any decisions, we cannot discuss anything outside of the legal advice, and when we're done, we come out and we take a vote to go in and go back out. So this is the vote to go into executive session, to non-public session. Motion, please.
Move to,
Non-public.
sorry,
Go into non-public.
to go into non-public, and that's in regards to the RSA.
Please read the RSA.
91 hyphen A colon 3 Roman numeral 2, right?
Yes.
Parentheses L, close parentheses.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. So at this point, we'd like everybody who's not a zoning board member to, and or Chip, to go outside. We're gonna close the door so we can discuss legal advice. Thank you. Shouldn't be too long, but you never know.
Jack, you want me to stay or go?
No, you come up, pull yourself up here. It's important we have this conversation. And we just shut off the mics and